Yes, there was that rhino at the dam as well last night when I was looking for the lion. Didn't stay on the rhino for very long. I found the lion soon after, and I wasn't sure if the lino or Ryan and lino in the same place, by the way. But the rhino was at the water and the lion were on the wall, and I thought they might disappear, so I kept the camera on them, and when I eventually put the camera back where the rhino was, he must have moved on. So that must have been the rhino tracks that we saw on the top end of the dam. Ngubu Road, sorry, near Buffelshoek Cut Line. Janet. Okay, Janet. How can elephants be so elusive? I don't know, I've never heard the term elephants in the room or in the roof. Not sure, couldn't quite copy that. But you would be surprised, Janet. We could be watching elephant here and we could be looking at an eagle or something on the opposite side of the road. We could turn around and they would be gone. One human being walking in the bush makes more noise than a herd of elephants, and they can be elusive, they can be invisible at times. They don't make very much noise. Occasionally one hears snapping of twigs and things when they're feeding, but you don't hear them moving. They have this wonderful way of distributing their weight throughout the pad of their feet and distributing the pressure as well through the pads of their feet so as not to make too much noise. Interesting question from Shelley coming in. Shelley was asking, do elephant tusks ever get so long that they need to be rested on the ground, or so heavy that the elephant needs to rest? Very much so. I have seen such an elephant. Magnificent bull who sadly is no longer with us. He died a number of years ago. His name was Mandleve, M-A-N-D-L-E-V-E, Mandleve, which means the one with the ears. Although his tusks were more prominent than his ears, somebody gave him the name, the one with the ears. Mandleve was probably one of the biggest bulls in Kruger at the time. 20 years ago this was. And his main range was along the Sabi River, and I was lucky enough to be working at a lodge on the Sabi River. My house, my room, my quarters faced the river, and I had built a little bird bath and mud wallow. I often used to have elephant and bushbuck and monkeys and the hippo. But every now and then I was graced with his presence. And his right tusk was lower than his left tusk. They weren't exactly symmetrical. And in his older years, he didn't even have to lower his head. He would just have to put his head in a normal position to rest that very long tusk on the ground, because he was weakening as he was getting older. His teeth were wearing. He wasn't as strong as he was towards the late 80s, when he could still carry and hold his head up high. And he would have to rest that tusk, and he would actually sway his body to gather momentum and then lift that tusk and then put it down again to take a step. Some elephants that have been known to have exceptionally long tusks that get very heavy, I don't know whether they break them accidentally or they break them on purpose. I can't imagine they would do it on purpose, but who knows, maybe they just become too much of a burden. Looking for a way to get in here, because these elephants are somewhere up here, I think. not easy to get in here at all because in case anybody's late coming onto safari this afternoon, I'm busy trying to locate some elephant that were at the dam a few hours ago. They've headed into this area that's relatively thick bush to our western side, just off to our left. And I'm very keen to try and find them, but I can't get in here, it's very thick. I'm hoping to see something by driving very slowly. We've come a little bit too far north now. I think they were still further south. But that's a guess. And that's just it's not even an educated guess. It's just a pluck out of the air guess. Any mobiles out yet? Squirrel on a termite mound. I don't think he's looking for elephants though. Just want to listen a little bit. Yeah, on that round termite mound there's a squirrel. One of our tree squirrels. Any stations out yet? Guess not.
You can get more straight into the sun than that.
No, I know. Thought I just did. Yeah, it is kind of straight into the sun, and I've now got big orange spots in front of my eyes from looking in that direction. I just did want to listen for a minute. Okay. Just with the light behind it, maybe from this angle. Okay. Otherwise we're going to have to give up on these LEs at the moment. Maybe come back for them a little bit later. There might be some sign of them coming out of this area sometime later. So let's head back up Central Road to the east. We can do if they're not visible, or if I can't find tracks. There's a fairly large area. It's got to be 100 acres at least of relatively dense bush or more. So we'll move on, try and find something else. There's one group of ellies around, there might be another one that has come in during the day. We head east and more south to see if we can find any tracks of any others, as well as anything else that's interesting at Djuma Game Reserve in the Sawabi Sands. Coming to you live, real time, Sunday afternoon. Where we the 10th, 11th, 12th, I don't know, some day in June. I lose track of what. Oh, is it the 13th? Okay, 13th of June then. Know what's going to happen. We're going to drive away and head up to Buffelshoek Dam, and one of the game drive vehicles will come by and they'll be standing here on the road. They're all standing behind a big marula tree somewhere in that bush, giggling at me, like, haha, there he goes. Muni warini, watch next. They say in the classic. I'm interested to know if any new viewers with us today, logging on for the first time. Be nice to meet you. Just going through a dip where I won't hear you. No, you won't hear me. Oh, that's interesting. Thanks, Janet. I've never heard of the expression. Certainly use it in the future. Janet's saying that in North America, when there's obvious tension in the room of people, and nobody's addressing the issue, they refer to it as there being an elephant in the room. Very appropriate, because very often you can have an issue hanging over everybody's heads, and it's palpable. You can the atmosphere is, you can feel it, tension. Ellen in Pennsylvania. Good afternoon. Okay, I must try and remember all of this now. The Styx Pride that were around last night, were they involved in all the fighting that's been going on? And would they have heard it and gone to investigate? And no. Okay, sorry Ellen, I got it all wrong. If the lion that were involved in the fight heard the Styx Pride last night, would they come and investigate? They probably would have. They probably heard them in the distance, no doubt. But since no male lions appeared, I assume that they would have ignored it. Also, there is a strong difference between females calling and males calling. I only did catch the end of the lions calling through the microphone last night. So I can't really comment on whether it was only the females calling or what the calling was about. I assumed that the calling was all about locating that little lost lioness, because once she came along and was reunited with everybody, they stopped roaring. I'm not too sure. I need to know from anyone if they stayed up or they were still watching long after that, which would have been after 2 a.m. with the herd, very much so. And but she's really pulling that tree apart. What is it, by the way? I can't see. Buffalo thorn. Can you see in the dark? One of the calves has just crossed the road in front of us. Bulls, on the other hand, don't really have much of a part to play within the matriarchal society that forms the family groups. And from a very young age, already from pre-teens, the young bulls lag behind and they kind of do their own thing. They follow the family units, they still stay with them, they still will seek body contact, and they will still seek reassurance from their mother for most of the time, or from time to time. But most of the time, when they're feeding like this, the younger bulls are away from the females by maybe 20 yards, 50 yards, even 100, 200 yards away, and just listening to where the main group is feeding, and they keep up with them. And then it's only when they're going through puberty, which is around the age of 12 to 14, that the young bulls start becoming more and more independent, and maybe hooking up with, and there goes the second calf just crossing the road up ahead. I just saw the shadow. So both youngsters are quite happy to move away from mom at the moment. Probably both bulls, proving what I'm saying. As opposed to if they were young cows, they'd be browsing, grazing with her here. And the young bulls then move on and they'll probably join up with older bulls and form bachelor groups, or just tag along with an older bull to learn the ropes of being an elephant bull, because all they know up until puberty is the matriarchal society, the matriarchal way of doing things. So I think we know this female. I'm just looking at her tail. Let me just get the light a little bit more concentrated on her tail, because this is an elephant we saw a little while ago. She doesn't have any, or hardly has. No, it's not the same one. She's got a little stubby tail. The hairs are pretty well worn, and it might have something to do with the kink in her tail and the way it rubs against her body, that the hairs are worn short. But generally the hairs on an elephant's tail can be quite long. As far as longevity is concerned, in the wild, 55 to 65 years. It's largely dependent on many different factors, most important of which is the food, the type of food that they've eaten during their lives, how much grazing, because grasses are quite abrasive, and the chewing of bark and tree trunk, or rather trees, branches, and some of the heavy stuff that they browse on does take its toll on their teeth. And it's very much dependent on when that last set of teeth that they have wears through and they no longer can take in the required amount of roughage to keep their digestive system flowing nicely. And in the wild, I guess you could say 55 to 65 years. I think elephant have lived longer in captivity. I don't think there's much of a difference between longevity of bulls and cows, mostly because it all has a lot to do with tooth wear and food and digestion. Okay, she's moving into the headlights now. That's her own choice to move into that light. So we're going to make our way onto Biffle's cut line. We'll watch her cross there. Okay.
Did you get the time check?
Yeah. Although we should really leave her be. I think we'll do that. I think we'll head down towards Biffle's, or rather Gary Dam. Central Road. Don't want to be too late. We're going to have a fireside chat tonight. Fireside chat tonight is going to be our weekly highlights. Jared will be presenting that at 6:30 Central African time. Bye, Elise. Come back tomorrow. We're probably going to lose signal going down into this dip again for a little bit, going on to Gary cut line.
Hello everyone, my name is Afka, I'm in final control. The car's going through a little bit of a dip and I see they're coming back. When the signal is good, I will switch back to the car. We're on Gary line. And heading back towards Central Road and over Gary Dam. We'll see how much time we've got to see if there's anything we can
find around the dam. I'm curious how these two boys haven't been seen for a while, and their tracks, we haven't seen any substantial tracks of Misha and Induna. Wow. But each day we wake up and each day we head out, it can be a new day to find new tracks. Karula evidently in the west at the moment. There's Sandy Patch, Impala Plains. We'll do a quick, see if there's a quick update from the guys. Airframe come in. Any luck with your English? Okay, copy. Gary Cutline. Okay, copy. Yeah, I'm going to be closing down in 2 minutes. No one on the zoo. Okay. A scrub hair. The March hair. No, it's June. The June hair. Hello, child. What you hearing? Oh. Best you get out of the open. There are big giant eagle owls around here, looking for little bunny rabbits. And on that note, oh gosh.
That's good. Looks like it looks pretty cool.
Blair Witch Project type thing. No, what is it called? Halloween. Like the